Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Sylvania City Council meeting for May 19th, 2025. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Hanson?
Here.
Mr. Hanem?
Here.
Mr. McCann?
Here.
Mr. Murphy?
Here.
Mr. Richardson?
Here.
Ms. Stout? Here. Mrs. Westfall?
Mrs. Westfall is excused. 6 members of City Council are in attendance, so a quorum does exist. So I would ask you to all stand as you're able to say the Pledge of Allegiance this evening, led by Mr. Hanson.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I had 3 items that I wanted to add to the agenda this evening. The first is the election of a president pro tem, which we'll call 3A. There's 2 ladies here that would like to make some public comments about a potential ordinance, so I'll make that 4A. And then also, some members of City Council and myself had a chance to sit down with a delegation from Belarus. And I wanted to just give you a brief background and a little bit of information on that, so we'll call that 10A after the committee referrals. Are there any other items that come before City Council that Council wants to add to the agenda? Hearing none. Mr. Sanford.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Chief Miller.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Shaw.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Schwartz.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Bryant.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Hearing that, may I have a motion to approve the council agenda as amended?
So approved. Second.
Motion and second to approve the agenda as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Going on to agenda item 3A, since Mrs. Westfall is excused and absent, bring up the opportunity for someone, other member of City Council to be the president pro tem. Do I have a motion to?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Hand.
Yeah, I move that we make Marcus Hanson President Pro Tem.
Second.
Motion and a second to have Mr. Hanson be President Pro Tem for this evening's meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much, and congratulations, Mr. Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So
Thank
with
you
that-
all for your vote of confidence.
With that, you get the opportunity to consider the council meeting minutes for May 5th, 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to move approval of the meeting minutes of the Sylvania City Council meeting held on May 5th, 2025 as submitted.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes for Sylvania City Council of May 5th, 2025. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to public comments. We have 2 ladies here that had called into the mayor's office and requested a bit of time, so I'd like to recognize them. If you could come up to the podium and speak your name and your address so that we have that for the record, that would be great.
Okay. Hi, I'm Tisha Deleska. I'm not a Sylvania City resident. I'm Sylvania Township. But this is Patty. She is a Sylvania City resident.
Okay.
And her address is 6612 Convent Boulevard. And I am here today with her to provide support. She is one of my clients that has voiced a lot of concerns over the fireworks here in Sylvania. We have several days where they are allotted, and then also back in her neighborhood around the convent area, she has there's just all the time. So she had a lot of concerns last year. I talked to her a lot to help her calm down. I have other residents too, but they're not here, so I'm focusing on Patty tonight. So I do have an email that I had written that I could read if you'd like, that goes over some of our concerns.
Certainly.
Okay. I am the owner of Golden Care Partners, which is an agency dedicated to supporting and advocating for seniors and veterans. I witness daily the profound impact excessive noise has on vulnerable populations that we serve. And last summer, our clients were deeply affected by frequent and unpredictable fireworks displays, which continued late into the night across several neighborhoods. For many veterans and individuals living with PTSD, the loud sudden explosions triggered intense anxiety, flashbacks, and other serious symptoms. The U.S. Department of VA recognizes these auditory triggers as a common and significant challenge older adults who I also serve, particularly those with cognitive impairments and mobility limitations or heart conditions, also had very distressing times. The unexpected nature of the noise causes sleep disturbances, increased agitation, and even in some cases, medical emergencies. So this summer, we're hoping to see a reduction in both the frequency and the duration of the fireworks activity, allowing our clients and other noise-sensitive individuals to feel safer and more at ease in their own homes. So, yeah, thank you for your attention to this matter.
Sure, thank you very much. And Ms. Browning, other than obviously the 3rd and the 4th of July, I know there's some other dates on the calendar where fireworks are permissible, but I don't know what those limits are. Do you
Right.
know that off the top of your head?
I don't know off the top of my head. I would be happy if you could forward me that email. And then I can respond and we can be in communication and I can get you the appropriate information and see if there's anything more we can do.
Okay.
Because, yeah, I
And
understand.
if I have all the dates and the times, then I can also, provide that information ahead of time to my clients.
Right, exactly.
But I do know that there are several dates where it happened, so
Right, exactly.
we wanted to also.
And some we know about and some we don't. So we will.
Those are the ones, that we don't know,
That's
just
right.
blowing up all over the
Yes,
neighborhood.
exactly,
Yeah.
But no, I'll give you my card.
I'd be happy to, I'll forward the email to you right now.
Oh, okay.
I did find it,
Oh, okay.
so I'll
great.
take care of forwarding it to her right now.
Perfect, and then I will.
Patty would also like to speak too.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah, well, I'll just add on to what she said, because Tisha covered all the things that are, not all, but some of the biggies. Me, I really am what's called a highly sensitive, I'm highly sensitive. So I don't just hear noise, I feel it. I don't just notice an odor or something, I really feel it. Like, I just have high sensitivity, and apparently 20% of most species are kind of higher in sensitivity than others, and I just happen to be one of those. So I never knew why other people weren't upset by stuff that I would always feel very upset by. Loud noise was a big one. And I moved to this part of Northwest Ohio from out west. My brother lives in Toledo, and I moved to this part of the country because I didn't have family where I was, and I was kind of lonely out west and just had some health issues, including, like what you said, with heart condition. I didn't expect that, but as you get older, stuff happens, and anyway, so that was a big thing. And every time somebody in our neighborhood would be blowing stuff up, this would just start pounding away. And one time when I called Tisha, she talked me down off the ledge for about an hour because I was just in a panic attack. And it was hard because every time I'd start to settle, somebody else would blow something up in their yard, I think. So I called 911, I don't know how many times, but as you all know, they don't always know where everything is. And I was trying to say where it was that I lived. And she'd say, well, what's the address of where the fireworks is coming from? And I say, well, it's a lot of addresses. It's all around this area. And I keep trying to describe the area around the Lord's campus, because I live right near there. And I thought that would be a peaceful place to be for a sensitive person like me, because there's a lot of retired sisters. And, I just figured they're going to be quiet by nature as I am. And they are. And usually it's a really nice place for a nature lover like me, because it's, a lot of trees, birds, and that kind of noise I can just live on. I love it. So that's why I'm here, and I asked Tisha to advocate for me because I get scared, always calling up and complaining, but I am this way, and I don't think I'm alone. As Tisha told me about some groups of people I didn't even know about, and one she didn't mention was one of my things, because I always advocate for kids and nature and animals. I had a friend whose dog ran off. 14 years they had that pet because of that blowing up noise. And I know, I've read about babies, little ones, whose ear canals haven't even developed yet. And those loud explosions can really cause permanent damage. So aside from me, I just care about children, I care about nature. nature and care about, I don't want to lose any more birds, we're losing too many. And, you know, noise is one of the many things that can upset the birds, and they can fly off if the noise keeps happening. And then the babies die, and that kind of thing just breaks my heart, so. Because I'm sensitive about that sort of thing too, not just noise. So that's kind of my thing. I'm hoping to have it more peaceful. I like where I live. I love the area. I came to Sylvania, city of trees, because I love trees, I love birds, I love nature, and I can walk down by the river and I feel at peace in those kinds of settings. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your comments.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Just so you know, Ohio has much more liberal fireworks law than we have adopted in the city of Sylvania. In fact, we rejected the expansion of the ability to use fireworks in the city a couple of years ago. So we already have a constrained fireworks options for our neighbors. That only applies in the city. That doesn't apply in the township. So whatever goes on in the township is consistent with Ohio law, which is much broader, gives a lot more dates, a lot more opportunities, a lot broader use of fireworks, much broader selection of fireworks you can use. And the city's only 6 miles. So the fireworks that you're hearing are as likely to be originating from the township, where they're legal, as they are from the city. Now, I don't know the specific situation. We can look into that.
Where's the
I don't-
township in relative to?
Let me just finish. I don't think, you haven't proposed any legislation to change our laws in the city of Sylvania. And I don't think, and I'm very comfortable with the laws that we have currently and with the degree of control we have. And like I said, we did opt out of the state legislature's broadening of legal fireworks use in the state. So the issues that you are raising are issues of enforcement, not issues of legislation that impact the council. It's good that the mayor and the law director have heard this, and they have and are we have very responsive police force, and we can certainly be on alert. But as I sit here as a city councilman, okay, what can I do about this problem? And I hate to say it. I always hate to say I don't have any power to do anything about anything. But short of changing our ordinance, there's nothing we can do. And I'm not sure that changing the ordinance, which, like I said, is a lot more strict than state law, would alleviate your problem. So I just want you to know we have been responsive to your general concerns in that we opted out of the fireworks expansion that the legislature adopted a few years ago, and we still have, as a home rule city, we have what you would call old school fireworks laws, and we'll do the best we can. But the fact is that you're going to be impacted not by what my neighbors and city residents do, but will also be impacted by township residents who are governed by what the Ohio legislature has adopted.
Yeah, that could be some of it coming from, I don't know exactly where the boundary is. I do know some of it was pretty close to where
Nobody
I live,
does.
but some of it- you know,
Only the chair of zoning and annexation would know where the boundary is.
right.
And our police officer.
And I'll reach out to the township as well and see if I can get whatever dates they have for any known fireworks displays, and I will get those to you.
Thank you.
It isn't so much the displays that are planned and, you know, from 10 to 11 or whenever there's gonna have that. It's more, I think, kids, young people in neighborhoods
Yeah.
just blowing things up.
So you have a question of enforcement.
That was what was hard, because the 911 people didn't know, and I'd say, I can't give you the exact address, it's in this vicinity, it's south of Convent Boulevard, it's west of Allen Street. You know, I could connection, but I couldn't say the exact house number. I wouldn't have a clue. I'm in bed in my pajamas.
Right. Thank you both for your comments.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
You wanna pass
And
that
you're
on?
welcome to stay, but you obviously don't have to.
Okay. Yeah, it's okay, then forward it.
Oh, they're on a
Yep.
forward.
Yes.
Okay.
All
Thank
set.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Shaw, we are up to your section of the agenda.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening to members of council. In front of you tonight with Agenda 5, I've got two pieces of legislation in front of you, B and D. I'll start with the first one because it's kind of predicated that that one goes through and then the next one. But so last budgeting season with Lucas County Engineers Office, we collaborate, if not every year, every other year, on roadway projects to bundle together to do joint OPWC applications with. The tough part about the way OPWC is set up currently is it's right in line with our budgeting process in terms of timeline. So we collaborated with them, and the Lucas County engineer has Sylvania Avenue, Mitshaw, Frankfurt, and Chrissy Road as a part of their project, and we have Convent Boulevard and Little Road as a part of ours. We bundled resurfacing all of those together, submitted an OPWC joint application with the county being the lead agency on the project. That's submitted usually in September, and we score and rank those projects in December. So we found out in December we were successful as a joint agency with the project. So hence, we did not have engineering funds, which would be the second part of this legislation that's in front of you tonight in our budget. But the other part of it is anytime we do these projects with the county, we do joint cooperation agreements with them. And the joint cooperation agreement with them is outlined in your packet, demonstrates who's responsible for engineering, who does construction, who gets what percentage of those OPWC funds that we apply for. So those entities are outlined, in the agreement. So just as a quick snapshot, we have about $719,000 of resurfacing work to do on those two roads. Just from a limit standpoint, on Little Road, we're gonna go from Palisades all the way north to Erie Street, and on Convent Boulevard from the township limits at like Whispering Oak all the way over to the railroad tracks on the east. So those are our two projects at about $719,000. $195,000 of that would be funded from OPWC, and the rest would be local. So that's what's in front of you tonight is approval of the joint cooperation agreement with Lucas County Engineers Office. Be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for members of council?
Yes, Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Hanson?
just so I'm curious on timing, there's also a project to resurface Monroe Street. Does that coincide with this, or will they be, I guess, considered separately?
They will be considered separately. Of course, we try to massage out as good as we can all the different resurfacing works, but the budget will have the resurfacing portion in the 26 budget. That'll be a planned project that we have in there. The engineering we got to get accomplished yet this year, but we will of course coordinate that with everything that we've got going on next year.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Other questions from members of council? Mr. Murphy?
Resurfacing going all the way down or just across the top of
We
it?
propose in OPWC, generally they're two course mill and resurfacings. We'll take, depending on the roadway profile, a good rule of thumb is about 2 to 2.5 inches off. We put a scratch course down, which is about 3/4 of a leveling course, and then a good solid 1.5 on top of that. So it just depends on how the roadway profiles are made up and actually how much asphalt's there, but generally it's a 2-course mill and overlay.
Other questions for Mr. Shaw? Hearing none, we have ordinance number 58, 2025. Mr. Richardson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is ordinance number 58, 2025. I'll read by title only. Authorizing the mayor and director of finance to enter into a joint cooperation agreement on behalf of this city of Sylvania with the Board of Lucas County Commissioners relative to the Sylvania, Mitshaw, Frankfurt, Chrissy, Convent, Little resurfacing project, and I would move passage as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 58, 2025 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Mr. Shaw, on to item 5C.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And the second piece of this would be to get the engineering started with the project. It's currently scheduled as a 26 construction project. That gives us about 6 months to get this finalized from an engineering perspective, get the design plans drawn up and be ready to advertise and sell at the turn of the budget cycle in January for that. So if there's anything else I was gonna add with that, we reached out to Feller Finch. They are generally our engineer that we use on these projects. They've done a couple of these county resurfacing joint projects. They have a good feel for what the plans need to look like, how the quantities need to look, how the notes need to jive so that it matches with what Lucas County does. They helped us on Brent Road back in 2023. And then the resurfacing project that will happen this summer, that's getting ready to start in a couple weeks on Arcelica Drive and Summit Street and Erie Street, which will be done this year. They did those construction plans too. So they have a good feel for what we like to see in these projects. So we request the $31,900 to do the engineering. This was not in the budget, as mentioned before, just with the timing of how OPWC works. So this would be an additional appropriation out of our 401-7610-53-503 account. So be happy to answer your questions.
So, Mr. Shaw, just for clarification, the $31,900 is our portion of this total cost, what the county is encountering or basically paying another portion based on these splits that we were talking about, correct?
They're fortunate they can do a lot of the engineering in-house just with staff, so they take care of the engineering on their side of the construction project. This is our side of the construction project, so this is just our engineering phase.
Any questions for Mr. Shaw from council? Hearing none, we have ordinance 59, 2025 for consideration. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is ordinance number 59, 2025. I'll read by title only. Accepting the proposal of Feller, Finch and Associates, Inc. to provide professional engineering services for the Sylvania, Mitchoff, Frankfurt, Crissy, Convent, Little resurfacing project, appropriating funds therefore in the amount of $31,900, and I would move passage as an emergency measure.
Second. A motion and a second to approve ordinance number 59, 2025 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. And by the way, Mr. Richardson, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, that was a big one. A lot of streets at once.
Yeah. Moving on to agenda item 6A, professional services for DGL consideration. Mr. Shaw.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this in front of you tonight is a contract mod from their first proposal that they had given us. I gave you the ordinance number back in '23 where we awarded them a professional engineering services contract for both all encompassing downtown transportation improvements projects. So that would have been from Monroe all the way through Erie. And at that time, it was $603,100. About last October, we of course obviously were paying attention to invoices coming in, and we were noticing a little bit higher than normal to be completed at that time. So we started to talk with DGL about, okay, where are things at? How are things going? What do you see that's happening that is trending this project maybe a little bit further along in budget-wise than we would like to see? So we had some pretty intense conversations as it spilled over into the beginning part of the year, but at the time that they had done the proposal for us, we were considering doing this in one entire project. So we were going to do the whole thing in one shot. And then as that time it was awarded, we had utility Barry kind of come at us where we wanted to take utilities from above grade and stick them below. And we said, well, we're going to need more time to be able to do that. We also had ARPA funds, which had to be encumbered by December 31st, 2024. So we had to get those funds under some type of an engineering contract. We were never going to have enough time to be able to take those utilities, bury them below grade, and do it all as one project once that decision point was made. So then at the time, Service Director Aller and I had some conversations. It's like, well, we might as well break this project up into two. Let's do them in phase one, phase two. The phase two piece of it gives us the time to get utilities buried underground. And also, we think it gives us more opportunity to get OPWC funding to help us with phase two of the project. So there were some definitive reasons why it made sense to break the project up into two. The bad part of that is when you break the project up into two, the consultant had already submitted 30% plans at that time. So they had included a roundabout, they had done some cross-sections design, they had done a number of different things to get the project to that phase, and then we're kind of changing the game on them a little bit. So I'd asked them for consideration, take a look at your plans and see where things are at. And they came back to us with a much higher amount that's in front of you tonight. So there was a couple months of some back and forth to make sure this contract modification proposal was really stripped down to the basics. And so what this has in front of you was additional time that was spent in their landscape architect Edge, modifying the plans and splitting them up into 2 phases. Doesn't sound like it's that difficult, but when you have plans pretty much set up to do all in one, it does take some time to go back and redo those and figure out where your phase lines are gonna be, redo those areas. So that was a big thing that they had to do. We also had the roundabout in the first phase of it. That since has been taken out, so all of those plan sheets that had that, all those cross sections that have been developed for a roundabout, were all gonna have to get taken back out. So there were some modifications to do there. We also added some new features to their scope of work. Inside the 5 has just done a big improvement out front. There's some sidewalk grade issues there. We have to retopo that area, recapture that, and figure out how to do some grade transitions to make sure we have ADA compliance. And also we've added in the mini park where Reed Funeral Home is at. We want to retool that and give that a fresh face and a new look with our phase 2 project. So in all of that, we came up with $93,458 that we agreed on for a contract modification. So that you know, the project is sitting right around $6 million, all those phases in there. I try to use 10 to 12% as a general gauge. It's not always hard, fast, but it's a good rule to get you in the ballpark on how much engineering costs when you do a construction project. So when we started it, we were maybe on the lean side, maybe like closer to that 10%. With this contract mod, we're a little bit closer to that 12%. I'm still more than comfortable with where we're at. It's a bigger number than usually I like to bring in front of you, but took a lot of work to get it down to this point, but I'm certainly comfortable with where it sits. So
Mr. Shaw,
that's a lot.
The $6 million that you mentioned, that does not include utility but line burial, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just wanted to make sure the council was aware of that.
There's a whole separate contract they're doing for utility berry.
Questions? Mr. McCann?
Yes, Mr. Shaw. A question regarding something you mentioned of OPWC funds. Did we anticipated funds for the whole construction, and you're saying for the second phase, would those funds change, or you anticipate possibly more?
More. So if you would have asked for it in the whole project, you would get a lot less in terms of the whole ask of the project. By dividing it up into 2, it reduces that construction cost, and it helps with some of the other scoring metrics in it. Kevin and I, at the time when we had gone through it, we were seeming to think we could get around another 200, 300,000 more by splitting them up into 2 asks. So that'll be one of our big asks coming up in September for OPWC. This may actually be our number 1 project that we ask for, will be to apply again for OPWC funds for it.
So in anticipation, this could help pay for this?
Yes, for sure.
addition.
For sure.
Thank you.
Other questions from members of council?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Murphy?
And I'm not gonna hold you to this percentage, but of this 93,000, what percent do you think was things you came up against and versus things you added?
Sure.
So you mentioned doing some art
Yeah.
and other things after the fact.
I think I had some notes here. Let me see if I can find them super quick. The overages, so it's in their proposal, one of the line items, they had about 17,300 that was on the DGL side. On the Edge side was probably about 7 or 8 of that. So I would say about 25 of that would have been overages, so to speak. More detail on the curb work, more detail on the planters, how those are gonna work. Oh, we didn't quite get the grades right for Reveille. We gotta go back and relook at that to make sure the detail is right on that. And I'm glad you asked that too, because that was a huge component of the overage too. Like when you're trying to meet ADA with roof or with entries that are all over the place on each side of the road, it is a monster challenge to try to get that right. It takes a couple iterations. So about, whatever that was about 27,000 probably of that.
But required by law.
For sure.
Other questions for council? Hearing none, we have ordinance number 60, 2025 for consideration. Mr. McCann?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce by title only ordinance number 60-2025, authorizing the mayor and director of finance to enter into an amendment to DGL Consulting Engineers LLC proposal for professional engineering services relative to the downtown transportation improvement project to reflect additional work performed on the project, appropriating funds therefore in the amount not to exceed $93,458. I move for passage of ordinance number 60-2025 as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 60, 2025 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. And ordinance number 60, 2025 is approved as an emergency measure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Appreciate it. The agenda item number 7, you'll note that the Sylvania Municipal Planning Commission moved forward and approved and recommended that ordinance number 56 for non-conforming signs be approved. As you'll recall, we submitted that to the planning commission for consideration at the last meeting. So with that, we have to set a public hearing, and the clerk is suggesting July the 21st, 2025 for that. Mr. Hanum.
Yeah, well, who am I to go check?
As you well know, there's time horizons and all the notifications required by law and all that jazz.
Let me just note that I've had, surprisingly, a couple of phone calls about this since our meeting on people who were not aware that we were going to do the 2-year extension, who were getting nervous about the deadline coming up. But the history of this is of course particularly interesting to me, I guess. I was there when we did this, but I think this 2-year extension makes a lot of sense. So, but tonight we're just here to set a public hearing on. So I move that we establish a public hearing on proposed ordinance number 56-2025, amending Chapter 1166 of the Sylvania Codified Ordinances by amending Section 1166.16, non-conforming signs, and that we set the hearing for July 21st, 2025 at 7:15.
Second. There's a motion and a second to set a public hearing for the consideration of ordinance number 56, 2025. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. And ordinance and the recommendation to set a public hearing for July 21st, 2025 here in council chambers at 7:15 is approved, and the clerk will advertise that accordingly. Thank you very much, Mr. Hannon.
Yeah, we might want to think about putting something on our website that we're considering that, so that, just to start to get the word out, if we could do that.
I'll go ahead and make sure we get that done. Moving on to agenda item number 8, we have then and now certifications for consideration and approval. Mr. Schroyer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What you have in front of you is the then and now certifications of any purchase over $3,000. Remember, all these purchases were included in the original budget that we passed last fall, and we request your approval of these then and now certifications.
Questions for Mr. Schroyer?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. McCann?
I see the date goes back to November 1st. Is there a reason we're so far back in arrears?
That's on me, but in the next meeting, you'll see the next 3 months, and then we'll be caught up.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions from members of council? Hearing none, we have the then and now certifications for consideration. Ms. Stout.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to approve the then and now certifications from May 19th, 2025, submitted by Toby Schroyer, the Director of Finance.
Motion to approve the then and now certifications. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the then and now certifications. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item number 9, are there any committee reports to be brought forward this evening? Or any committee referrals? Hearing none, I did want to give a brief update. Mr. Hanson, Mr. McCann, and Mr. Murphy and myself had the opportunity to meet with a group of people who were originally from Belarus last week. And it was an interesting conversation. They were over and they were interested in coming to this area. They had some interconnections with former elected officials here in Northwest Ohio, but they were here for about a week and they wanted to learn about local government. So they were meeting with all sorts of different groups of people, with the city of Toledo, the county commissioners. They asked for us to also sit in, so we had the chance to sit in and to chat with them, learn a little bit about them, had a translator. So it was 9 or 10 people. And, I found it fascinating. They were nice enough to give us a couple of small gifts, but one thing that was included was a book of history of Belarus, which I'm going to actually read, and once I get finished with it, anybody else is happy to borrow it, but and obviously then it'll be in the mayor's office because it's a beautiful book. So appreciated that opportunity. Mr. Murphy, Mr. McCann, Mr. Hanson, any comments?
A couple of anecdotes. It was really nice to hear of these people that came in to want to learn from us, and also it seemed like we gave them a little bit of hope because of the situation that they've had there, having their country taken away from them. And they're in exile right now because of that, but they want to get the base to learn how to do it right when they get the opportunity for independence. And by the way, the book is in English, so that was provided to us.
If it wasn't, it would be a short read for me.
And then after they met with us, they had a chance to tour the fire station and meet with fire crews and the fire chief, and they enjoyed that much more than our discussion, but we certainly learned a lot, and it's certainly, we're blessed to be where we're at, considering what happens elsewhere in the world.
Mr. Hanson, Mr. Murphy?
Yes, you both said it well. I mean, they showed a very genuine interest in being here. And as Mayor said, they were asking about local government. They were interested in our elections process. They were interested in best practices in general. And they compared Belarus to Sylvania in terms of the population and the size. And I thought it was a very, very nice visit, overall.
I thought it was interesting how detailed their questions were. How many squad cars, how many police officers on the street. So it wasn't what you would think is just general. I mean, it was very detailed information, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, it was indeed. I appreciated the three of you being able to attend. And I actually mentioned during the meeting that had we had a fourth, it would have been a public meeting that would then have been posted. And then we had to explain the difference and how that would have mechanically worked slightly differently. So it was lots of very detailed questions, good questions, lots of interest, and an enjoyable morning. So we appreciate that. Any questions from members of council in regards to that? Hearing none. We've come to the end of our agenda. I point out that we have the Board of Architectural Review and the Municipal Planning Commission meeting minutes here for your information. Any other items to come before council? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn the council meeting for May 19th, 2025?
So moved.
Motion?
Second.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And we are adjourned for the council meeting, and the next council meeting will be in 2 weeks on June 2nd. And at 7:30, these council chambers. Thank you very much for attending, and we appreciate you being here this evening.